If you're confused about which color to use on your wall or your sofa or just anywhere on your home to absolutely uplift it, and you really don't know where to start, this is just the video which you need to hear, because I'm going to be talking about which colors to use, why you should use those colors, in what proportion you should use those colors, and how each color goes well together to enhance the mood that you want for each space that you're going to be having in your house, office, or anywhere as a matter of fact. So if you want to find out about which are the colors to use, what percentage of colors to use where, how to actually choose the color which you think will work for you, then stay tuned to the end of the video, because we have some amazing concepts to tell you, and I'm also going to be revealing one of my favorite color combinations. So stay tuned till the end of the video. Hi guys, I'm Tanvi Sixeria, the founder and CEO of Little Miss Designer, a luxury interior design firm. If you're here to find about the tips, tricks and hacks and anything to do with interior design, then you're at the right place. Have you bought a new house, or are you looking at recoloring up your entire space and you just don't know where to start? Well, I've got all the perfect color combinations that you can use, and these are going to be really cool because I'm not only going to tell you which colors to use, I'm going to be telling you how to choose that color, what exact ratio and proportion of that color should be used, which two colors go well together, and to actually understand which is the right color for you, for your space, for that particular room, in all of your spaces at home. So if you can't wait to find out about all of this, then stay tuned till the end of the video, because I'm going to be sharing some of the most amazing secrets in my experience of 7 years. Yes, so I know you've gone to school and you've learned your colors and you use these colors to pick your clothes every day, but just to give you a little basic understanding, colors can be divided into two ways: neutral colors and accent colors, especially when you're designing your space. Now, neutral colors are basically your very chill, very subtle colors which you can use in a larger amount. So these neutral colors would be something like your white, grey, beige, any light color, or even your pastels. These colors are your neutral colors because it only uses itself like a canvas, and it actually helps to enhance the other colors which are going to be showing some emphasis on. Coming to the next one, which is known as your accent colors. Your accent colors are your bold colors or your brighter colors, or not even bold, but they should definitely be something that is contrasting. Now, these accent colors usually can be things like your blue, green, reds, or they could even be black for all you know. Depends completely on your taste, but accent colors usually are the ones which actually help to emphasize on a particular product, or to use something that to actually showcase that this is an important part of the room, and this color is used a little minimal, a little lesser than the neutral color. So in simple words, your room has your neutral colors like your simple beige, beiges, etc., which is all across the room on all your main walls, etc., whereas your accent colors are just on certain accent pieces or certain accent walls to highlight it, to give emphasis on that. That's how simple it is. Just in case you're someone who doesn't like to play with too many colors and likes something simple and safe, you can also go for a monochromatic color scheme. Now, this color scheme is usually using one color or maximum two colors, but of different shades of that color. So let's say if you're very familiar and you really like the color grey. So for example, in one bedroom, you can use different shades of grey for different items. So let's say you can have a dark grey wall with light grey chairs with a medium color grey cushion. So what happens is you're using the same color throughout the room but different shades of it, so there's still a little bit of variety going on, but at the same time it's not going to look boring and you don't have too many colors going on at the same time. When people usually associate accent colors, people usually think of dark bright colors like your reds, yellow, oranges. Well, if you want to, you definitely can, but if you don't want to use these really bright colors, you can still add a bit of contrast through these accent colors. Like for example, in a Scandinavian or a minimalistic design style, what happens is that your colors are very neutral around the space, like you use your white, beige, etc. But as a contrasting accent color, you're literally using colors like your really dark grey or black. So this is not like a very bright, vibrant color, but at the same time it's contrasting the lighter shades of your off-white and really light colors. So this can also be done if you're someone who doesn't like to use a lot of very bright colors. Don't worry, I'm coming to the part where I'm actually going to help you choose the right color for your space. But before you do that, don't get too eager and hurry into this. Really try to understand a little bit about colors. It's really going to help you get the right color for your space. Trust me. So remember in the beginning of the video I mentioned that you should know the purpose of the room. So what I meant by that is, like, let's say if it's a kid's room, right? Kids are usually full of energy and fun, so you want to promote those kind of behaviors. You want to promote the feeling of happiness, joy. So for these you usually use much brighter colors. It could be shades of pink, blue, orange, yellow, or maybe just their favorite color as for all. But it's really important to have that energy going around with the right bright colors in their room. Whereas let's say if you're something that you're using as a study room, in a study room you don't want too many colors happening because it's going to be very distracting. You're not going to be actually able to focus to study or work. So for a study room I would ensure that you have bright lights but not too much of bright colors, maybe just a little of it if you need that, but definitely not too bright lights. In the study room it should be more of subtle colors, whereas in the kids room it should be nice bright colors. Now let's say even if you've picked a color grey, there's a variety of shades in that. You're going to have warm greys and cool greys. This is another thing that you should understand, are warm colors and cool colors. Which one is something that resonates with you? And I'm sure you're very familiar, but have you heard of the color wheel? The color wheel is basically a wheel full of colors that helps you understand colors a little more. This usually consists of three main colors, which is known as your primary colors. The primary colors, when mixed together, give you your secondary colors. And when primary and secondary colors are mixed, then you get your tertiary colors. Now this really helps to understand which colors are complementing each other and which colors are actually matching each other. And understanding this is going to help you understand how to design yours. So primary colors include red, blue, yellow, and secondary colors include orange, purple, green. So considering which color you like, you should choose which are complementing each other and which are contrasting each other and which are acting. So now that you've got a better understanding of the colors, let's take an example of a bedroom. Now when I'm going to be designing a bedroom, I'm going to be choosing the 60 buying some artifacts. It could be photo frames, it could be a nice planter. I'm going to be having a little touch of that gold. So my entire color combination for this room is going to be blue, grey and gold. So now this needs to be made sure that all three go very well together, which is why getting the right proportion of 60, 30, 10 is so important. And you can apply this same rule for any space or any room that you're designing. Make sure to choose 2 to 3 colors, whether it's the same shade or different shade, but make sure that you use it in the right proportion. Okay, now that was my favorite color combination for the room. Now let's try to understand what is yours. First thing is I want to shut your eyes and actually think about what is the space that you're designing. Is it a bedroom? Is it a living room? What is the space? What is going to be the purpose of that space? Are you going to be watching a lot of TV? Are you going to be sleeping more? Are you going to be more productive by working? And accordingly start thinking. Now next step is I want you to start thinking about what is the color of t-shirt that you wear most often. Look at it down and see what color you're wearing. Are you wearing a blue? Are you wearing a black? What is the color that you see yourself wearing most often? In case you don't know your favorite color, and if you know your favorite color, maybe that's where you should start. So let's say your favorite color is green. So let's assume that green is going to be your main accent color, which you're going to be using a bit pop-up because it's too bright to be using all over the space. But let's say if your favorite color is a beige or a white, then definitely that can be your main color, which is the 60% which you'll be using in that room. So now that you know what is the purpose of the room, you know that which is your favorite color which you've been wearing a lot, the next step is to understand what is the color that's going to go well with that color. This is known as the complementary color, which you can understand with the color wheel. So let's say if your color which you really like was a beige, or let's say if it was a color like a green, then you have to understand what is the color that's going to complement that. For that you can understand the color wheel better. Now that you know the colors, you know exactly how much to use where, because I taught you about the 60-30-10 rule. So look at this, you've already gone so far to understand how to get the color right for your space. 1. Understand the color which you love. 2. Match it with the color that is actually going well with. And 3. Proportionize the colors very well so that it's not too much and not too little. And in case you want to know a little more about this color, and one last thing before you go, before you actually buy the paint and put it all over your space, a quick tip that I would recommend that you do is, when you buy the paint or you selected the paint, just first select one small sample bottle and put it across a small patch of that one particular wall. Now let it rest and let it dry off and see it the next day. See it at different times of the day, because depending on the light coming in and out, the color shades will change. And also, if you're using a particular color on the ceiling, or if you're using a particular on the wall, apply it on that same spot. So for example, if you're using a particular grey which I mentioned on the wall, don't put it on the ceiling, because with the shadow it's going to slightly change. If you're using it on the wall, apply the sample on the wall itself. And the same way, if you're using the wall color, the color for your ceiling, then use the sample on the ceiling itself, because trust me, when you're going to look at it at different angles, the color of the paint is going to change. And wait for some time, see it for an entire day, see it in all the daylight, in the night, all the times of the day, and when you're convinced that you really like the color, then go ahead and only then paint your house and choose that furniture based on that. Now that you've understood the colors, the next step is to get the right lighting and furniture. In case you don't know where to start, you can check the link that I'm going to leave in the description box below, because this is going to completely transform your space, because having the right colors and bad lighting is not going to help you, right? So definitely check out that video as well. Well, thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this helpful and had fun choosing the colors with me. In case you need to know a specific color for your space, you can leave a question below and I'm happy to answer that. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and of course hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on the next few videos coming up. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this helpful and had fun choosing the colors with me. In case you need to know a specific